series of interviews I'll be conducting with industry leaders within the analytics and data science space. Today, I have with me Dr. Serge Plata, an internationally recognised scientist with a PhD in mathematics from Imperial College London and a career in data science and analytics spanning 13 years. He's worked for a number of the UK's most recognisable retail names, including Sainsbury's and Tesco's, as well as Capita and most recently Nomad Foods. And he's also a board member of the IMA. He is a published author and regularly produces white papers, including most recently a paper entitled Data Centric Crisis Management, the link for which I will share at the end of this interview. Serge is also a long-standing contact of mine who I've worked with for many years and was a natural choice for this series. So Serge, welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. So I just wanted to start off with a bit of a fun question, I suppose, nothing too serious, but I'd really like to find out what you clearly love about data science with all the studies that you've done.
Yeah, sure. I think for me, data science is a way to discover things. And that's one of the things that I proposed in actually in one of my books. It's like a cartographic tool. So cartographic tools that, you know, create maps. And if properly laid out, if properly done, data science can create maps to help people and businesses to navigate, especially in difficult times like COVID-19 pandemic. I actually talk about this topic with philosophers, like top philosophers like Claudio Canaparo and others like international.
Really? Wow.
So what do you think about this? Do you think that it's really a cartographic tool? And I think it is. I think it is. It helps us discover, like, you know, in these navigators in the 17th century that went and they had these maps with the sea monster somewhere and something that says terra incognita, unknown land. Well, this in this case, data science can help us to navigate there, and not only navigate, to create maps, so other people can get there faster. I know what's in there because someone actually laid out this for me. I think it's for me it's discovering. It's the act of discovering stuff, and for me it's fascinating. That's what I love about data science.
I love the
in general mathematics, but yes.
I think that's great, and I think you know, people quite often forget the importance of the visualization part of the process as well. I think I've seen a bit of a trend actually that is becoming more and more important in terms of the data science teams that are being built and the skills that are being hired for. But that's lovely, thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely, you're right. It's super important for people to start thinking about it like in a more, we're going to discover this. How can we read the entire landscape of things?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's super important, yes.
And such a big part, I think, I mean, again, this is a whole other topic, but it's such a big part of educating those within business and really helping them to understand the data and the insights and the solutions and yeah.
I think you just touch a very important point, the educational bit. I think there's a massive misconception of what data science is or is not, and that's one of the things that we need to be sure about when we talk about this. So people think that this is a magic wand and they just wave it, and no, there you go, magic numbers appear and everything's solved. Yeah, no, it's a process. It's a number of things, and this educational piece it's super important, especially for exec levels. I think this is very important. We need more proper data scientists on those levels, more than other people with no training in data science managing those pieces. I understand a bit the process, but yeah, it's very important. You touch a very, very important point there.
It just, so there was an article another client of ours wrote the other day, which kind of referenced the challenge that businesses have when change around data doesn't come from top down. And I've heard so many people saying to me, you know, we've gone to work with businesses who want to, you know, bring the capability in-house or build it from scratch, and you know, the chief CEO, for example, or the COO think that they know what they want, or think that they are going to be heavily investing in data, and actually there's a massive disconnect and the expectation is totally unrealistic, and the people, you know, that are brought in to do that build become massively frustrated, and
Yeah.
and you just don't get anywhere. You know, I've heard it within so many companies.
Yeah, actually, I talk about it with, one of the, I write with him a lot, is co-author of the papers that I've written. So Sumana Sarma is an incredibly intelligent person that you can imagine. He told me once, you know what, I think there's an inertia, and like an inertial momentum of things that happened, and mainly happened, reflecting on it, in the last decade of the 20th century. Sounds like very old, but it was just in 1990s. But yeah, in that last decade of the 20th century, a lot of things like Microsoft Excel was the main tool to do analysis, and also the structure. So structure were the analysts and the managers. I say, oh, wow, the analysts and the managers, that was the world. There was no data, anything, data manager or data science or anything. And I think that inertial momentum has been up to now dominating the landscape as well. So yeah, you're the analyst. You're here to help the marketing guy. You're the analyst. You're here to help the commercial, the chief commercial officer, the commercial practice, or whatever it is. So it's more like you're the analyst. No, it's not exactly like that. This has evolved so much that now it has a life of its own. It's independent of. Yeah, of course, it supports marketing, it supports commercial enterprises, but in general, data science, it's a field that that has been grown to the point of having a life of its own. And I think that's one of the things that we need also to acknowledge. And this inertial momentum that we have, we're still struggling with it. And oh yeah, we have CEO, what do you want? Oh, I want, well, the analysts. But the analysts are very powerful now, and they can give me a lot of information and a lot of insights. Yeah, but yes and no.
Yeah.
We need to break those things.
Yeah. And do you think the CDO is the solution, if you like, to that disconnect?
I believe yes. We need a proper CDO in the boardroom. Definitely is. But I think the main problem now is that we have a lot of CDOs and a lot of CIOs and CTOs with no experience whatsoever in data. I've seen CDOs with degrees in English, in history, in French. Nothing wrong with that, but and no experience in data. Also, I guess nothing wrong with that. But why would you have them leading data programs and data teams if they don't have any background whatsoever, any experience whatsoever in data? Is the same example as the marketing officer. Well, you want the chief marketing officer to be good at marketing, have a history of achieving stuff in marketing. It's like me, oh, I'm a data scientist, I want to lead marketing. Why? Well, I read about it. I Googled it. Well, no, I worked with marketers before. Yeah, but you don't qualify as such. And I think that's a misconception. Oh, well, we'll put the marketing person because he's worked with analysts before, and these guys are analysts. Yeah, yes and no. Actually, it's a lot more complex.
You think then you really need a CDO who does, they themselves have come from that data background?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's
so they understand the pain points of the analysts, as well as working at a senior level and being able to translate it into that language that the board understand.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is why I evolved myself in my career from being a very, very technical person, like as you mentioned, my PhD in mathematics and all these things, to a management person. I wanted to evolve into management because I think that's a way, and it's the mix between mathematics and management, the key for this. As you know, I got I was accepted in the executive master's program at Harvard, and so yeah, what do I need to do to have more impact in what I do? It's not just sitting in front of a computer coding something, a machine learning algorithm. It's more, okay, I need to grow into the management world, but I have the background from data. I've done it myself. I've done it like hands-on, done it. And when I talk to some of my colleagues, it's like, wow, maybe you don't have a clear idea of what it entails to have this or that. Why? Because you come from a different background. You're a supply chain person. Oh, okay, well, that's a different story, and I respect that. But I think there should be also respect from them to the data science practice. Not just like, oh, you're the analyst, you're the lower tier, you're actually the lowest tier in this organization, as you used to be, like, consultancies in the last decade of the 20th century is the analysts and the managers, or the consultants. And the analysts were the ones that were below, providing these Excel spreadsheets for the managers to go and do their job. So it's not anymore the helper. It's more
and I get the impression, even if businesses do have a CDO, sitting on the board, they're representing the voice of data within the business. Actually, the most important voice and representation of data throughout the whole business needs to come from maybe the CEO. That message of how important data is for the entire business, that it's part of the lifeblood. Of course, they're going to expect a CDO to deliver that message, but it has to be consistent from everybody else at that level.
Absolutely. And I think the CDO has another very big moral duty, which is changing the way of thinking of the business. Once again, coming back to this, my friend's example, why do we do the things that we do? Why is it that we have these weekly reports or monthly reports, or we do the forecast in a monthly way? But because in the last decade of the 20th century, when we started this, the only tool that we had was Excel, which is a great tool, by the way, don't get me wrong. It's a very good tool for a number of things, but has its limitations. So when you say, oh, okay, we've been doing this for 20 years or 30 years, and it's a weekly thing. So you build everything around the company on a weekly basis. So when you go, oh, I can do it daily. No, it's weekly. We do things weekly. Our supply chain is weekly. Our people are weekly. Our reports are weekly. Well, yeah, but I have a better tool, coding and things and technology and so. Yeah, but the companies are evolving a lot slower than technology. And I think that's one of the things that the CDO should have as a moral duty for the company, is changing the strategic thinking. Guys, let's stop the weekly thing. We can do it daily. And this is going to change the way we operate. Whoa, okay, that's a shocker. But I think it should come from the CDO more than the CEO. I mean, the CEO has to be, and the entire board has to be on board with this. But it has to come from someone who says, like, this is possible. I think we can do it like this. I have the vision of changing the operating model for the company, and also the strategic thinking. It will give us competitive advantage on this and this and this, and so on. So it's also managing, it's also strategy, but from the technology point of view, innovation, all these things should come from this area, more than waiting for the CEO to, maybe we need something daily. I think we can do it. It's just in getting rid of this inertial momentum of doing things.
So that leads me on to my next question, I suppose, a much broader question, but particularly with COVID in mind, what challenges do you think face the data industry now, and I suppose over the next year or two?
Yep. I think one of the things, one is a clear one, is the operation, the day-to-day, which is working from home. A lot of people are working from home now, and that's a lot of implications. So working from home, I've talked to people, to many of my colleagues, data scientists, and for them, it hasn't been a lot of change working from home. It's pretty much the same. They go sit in front of their computer, they do whatever they need to do, they deliver, and it doesn't matter. For managers, especially for these managers that I'm talking about, people with, I need to see you here in the office, sitting there on your desk, otherwise you're not working. It's like, and they need to see people there in the office, because they don't have a clear idea of what is possible, what needs to be done, how long things take. This guy, oh no, I want to see you here. Oh, I saw you in front of your computer all day. Then therefore you were working. Maybe you were I don't know, playing the Mario Kart, or something. Yeah, Super Mario or whatever it is. Anyway, so I think it's going to be a challenge for managers. So that's one of the things. The other thing is that we can use data and we can use these algorithms. Just published this paper with Samana Sarma on the Data Centric Crisis Management. You just mentioned it,
yeah.
And this is one of the things that I think we can do really well with data. We can outline this amount of possibilities. We can picture the landscape and the number of possibilities that we have for a number of things that is happening. So the main model, let me explain a little bit of a model. It's called Kashmir. We put it Kashmir, and that stands for Conic Surge Horizon Multidimensional Tree. So it's a mouthful, I know. but yeah, but if you see there, it has the word horizon there, which is another cartographic thing. So we're not analyzing, we don't pretend to analyze all the possibilities in the entire universe. No, that's impossible, obviously. So what we do is concentrate on a certain area, just the expecting horizon, what's likely to happen now, next, in the near future, in the surroundings. And this is what we play with. Then it's a game of, oh, someone moved these things change here. And that's what our model is so powerful, because it's fast and because it can analyze all these variables at the same time. So that's one of the things that data science can help a lot. Can help a lot with, well, obviously vulnerable people at risk, outlining disruptions, and what we proposed in this paper, our model, which is basically creating a map so people can navigate there and say, oh, what's going to happen here, what's going to happen there, and can take actions based on that. So I think data science can help a lot. We also collaborated and we published another paper based on an initiative by the Royal Society. And for your international audience who don't know what the Royal Society is the equivalent of the Academy of Science for any other country. So the Royal Society had an initiative called RAMP, which is an initiative that gathered scientists from the country to model the pandemic. So we put a good piece of work, in my opinion. We published a paper on it, on modeling this. This and not only for public health, but this can help businesses a lot in how they model their businesses, the public. How is it that they can keep people safe? Well, they go to their stores or their commercial places, and also simulating what would happen if. So, and that's a very complex thing when you're talking about behavior of people. So what would happen if, I don't know, I closed that escalator in that shopping mall? Whoa, okay, that the amount of variables is so large that, well, okay, humans I'm going to struggle with this, but a machine can do that, and that's what we're trying to do. So I think there are a lot of things that we can do from the data science point of view, and also the data science practice as such, that is like dealing with things. Oh, working from home. I think working from home, it's a very, very important point. Working remotely. Years ago, I have a very, very progressive manager. Her name is Shivani Tejuja, and fantastic. I think 18 years ago, she told me, oh, I think data science should work from home. It doesn't matter. I mean, 10 years ago, it was like, whoa, that's a shocker. Yeah. People should get the inertial momentum again. No, people should be in the office. And but she was very, very progressive. I have to recognize that in that sense, she could spot really well what you can be done at home. I mean, you don't have to be in the office as such.
Do you think that there's a challenge point though with the visibility of it? Because you're talking about, data scientists or analysts sometimes, they're kind of seen as back office staff. Do you think that there is this, if the majority of people went back to the office, but data scientists or technical members of staff stayed working from home, there would be a danger that their lack of visibility, physical visibility and voice, could be diminished?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that once again is inertial momentum. I think people should understand that for some things, yeah, we need to be in the office. It's important to have the human contact. It's important to talk to people, to be together discussing something. But in general, I think we need to understand that if someone's going to be literally 95% of the time in the office in front of a screen talking to no one,
Yeah,
well, you can do that at home and save 3 hours of commute.
yeah.
And yeah, you can do something else. The work is going to be there. If you're a good manager, you know how long things take. If you're a good manager, you know how to manage these things. If, for example, these managers who don't have any data experience, whoa, where's my staff? I don't have visibility of that. And then argue a number of things like, oh, the morale of the other teams that don't see these guys working. No, this has to change. It's part of inertial momentum. It's a part of, oh, that's a shocker. Yeah, well, that's a shocker, but it's reality. Actually, I can have people working remotely from other countries.
Yeah, this is another question I really wanted to ask you, actually. So this is something that we discussed as a team very early on in lockdown, and we suddenly thought, if this continues long term with people working from home, 100% of the time, does that change the landscape of recruitment, and does it open up a global talent pool for businesses? And do we suddenly start to see companies hiring, what was perceived at one point the best of the best from Silicon Valley? Does it suddenly give a business in London access to that kind of talent pool? I'd just be really intrigued to see what you think about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think no, I think you're right. Absolutely. I mean, yes, that's something we're also talking about a lot at length. Okay, one of the things is the time zone. I think everything's possible. There are things with the time zone things, and I think it was even an article in the New York Times that said something about people working even within the U.S. that have like 3 zones there. I mean, a country like Russia that has 11 time zones in the country. It's like it's a lot. So yeah, even in the same country, there are many issues for people working from one side of a country to the other. Why? Because I think it's a physiological component there, a hormone in the brain that is released when it gets dark, as melatonin or something like that. And so it's physiological. Obviously, the social thing, because, I want to do something at night with my friends. Oh, no, you can't because you're working UK hours, so you need to, or any other hours, so you need to be working, or at night. And then, what happens with the family? If you have children, you have to take them to school. But how are you going to take them to school if you're sleeping, and these kind of things? So I think there are a number of problems with the time zone. That's one of the main problems. The other is, not the other is an advantage. Is that you can have very good talent from all over the world working for you. I'm not sure about because the visas, the working visa, because then, you're not actually working in the country, you're working in your country. I mean, you're working for a UK-based company, but how that's going to work? I don't think anyone has really thought through about the working visa, because then I can employ anyone in, I don't know, in Colombia, in Mexico, in Brazil, or India, or South Korea. Oh, does he have a working visa? Well, I don't think he needs one, because he's not going to be working in the country. It's a very another blurred line.
It throws up so many questions, and of course there are already lots of remote-based, teams for businesses, and they make it work. But again, it's quite often for certain skill sets, isn't it? A lot of technical capabilities are outsourced. So I think it was Twitter that said they would allow everybody to work 100% remotely moving forward. But I mean, my immediate thought, and I'm so passionate about working with people and physically and virtually, and I just think there's especially a really big challenge, I think, for businesses hiring in graduates or junior members of staff that need to see their managers You're leading by example. And this, as you mentioned previously as well, data science managers, if you're a new manager and you've never managed before, you need support, you need guidance, you need feedback. There's so many elements, that you will miss from the training and management perspective. Only time will tell, I suppose. We've all managed to do it so far up until now, but it hasn't been without its challenges for sure, and and repercussions.
I think that this, COVID-19 pandemic will affect the way, especially how data scientists works. I think that in the long term, well, there are a lot of savings in office spaces, so we can have smaller offices, and a lot of people working from home, mostly all the time. I'd say 90% of our times, instead of only one day. I think it was very normal for data scientists and technical staff to have one day a week.
Yeah.
Working even before the pandemic. It was like, oh, what day is in this company? It was like, oh, is it Thursday? Is it Friday? When is it? And but now it's all the time. I myself have been working remotely 100% of the time since all the pandemic, and has not affected really my deliverables or any other thing. But I think in the long term, companies that rent offices in central London, for example, I think they're going to have they're going to suffer a little bit afterwards, because companies, I think, will realize, do we need this size of office? Do we really need it? I mean, we have a lot of people that are delivering very efficiently from home. I mean, they come here once a week, but that's fine. I mean, we don't need an entire office for people to come only once a week. And I think it will definitely change the way we work, remotely or not. Even when people are on holiday, I can work from, I don't know, a beach in Spain. Yeah.
I think it could also, it's something I've not really thought about actually up until now, but I think it will change the competencies that people are assessed upon at interview stage, because not everybody is capable of working from home and needs really strong leadership or support or guidance. Again, when you're forced into that situation, everybody has managed to work from home, and some have excelled and others have really struggled, whether that's based on your skills or your personal situation. But I've worked with fantastic employees in the past, peers at Blue Pelican, who I think would really struggle working from home without the guidance and leadership of a manager, or even just the support and feedback from their peers. And so again, if you're going to hire a role remotely, the set of questions you then ask, and as I say, the competencies you would then look for, would be very different versus potentially somebody who you would be hiring to come and work in an office amongst others. So the effect on the recruitment landscape, as well as the data landscape, it's going to be massive, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one needs to evaluate better. I mean, you guys, Blue Pelican, are really good at this, because I've been working with you for years. So yeah, I mean, there are some consultants like you that screen really well. You know your business. You've been there doing this for some years now. So yeah, but there are others. It's like, oh, this guy has the buzzwords.
Yeah.
Go for it. And then you go, and there's another problem, because the manager who has a degree in English or French is like, whoa, he has the buzzwords. Okay, you're hired. And then that comes a problem of the manager who doesn't know what people are doing. He doesn't know how long things take, what it entails to have, I don't know, data transfer from one place to another. Oh, well, it's copy-paste, right? Control C, Control V. Yes, yeah. But
do you think that your line of question, if you were to hire a data scientist tomorrow and you knew they would be, remote based 4 days out of 5, do you think the way you would assess them would be different now versus pre-COVID?
Yes, definitely, absolutely. I think it will change. It will definitely change. Because you're not seeing them as such. You cannot evaluate this kind of tests that we had.
Yeah, because I think we've made placements over lockdown, and obviously the the way that we've evaluated people and the way that our clients have evaluated people has developed and changed over that period, and the processes that people are using are they're constantly improving, you know, but perhaps that is something we can support our clients with, is coming up with a really good framework for hiring people virtually, and again the kind of questions that you might need to ask. But it's almost a research piece in itself, I think, actually going back and evaluating and what people did in March versus now, and how they view that recruitment process moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not only the fact that they have managed teams on site, but the fact that they have managed teams either offshore or remotely now, even in the same country. Because you have to ask the correct questions. You have to, you cannot pester all the time your analyst. Oh, what are you doing now? Well, I can see you here, or you went for lunch or something. But you just don't have that visibility. Not, for example, me as a manager, I don't need that visibility. I know I know what they're doing. I don't mind if people are sitting on their desks, and most of the time, the work that we do is intellectual. If you see me one of my days, one of my most productive days, I am walking around thinking. I was in the office, I was walking just up and down. It's like, okay. Have you written a single word on the company? No, I have not. But I'm thinking, just let me think. You see now these offices, people playing ping pong in the offices, or they have a pool table, or they're just kind of very kind of Google style offices. And I saw them. I saw all the technical teams, you know, having the ping pong tournaments and so on, and people, oh, you're playing ping pong all the time. No, they're actually thinking. Let them think. That's a way of thinking. And so you have to be there. And one of my most productive days, and I came out with this really good idea, was when I spent like 3 or 4 hours just thinking, like, how do I solve this? How do I solve? I think I know how. And then, but it takes time. So the kind of work that we do is not the amount of words that we type. Might be only 10 words, but those 10 words are worth months of work.
I would never have, it would have occurred to me.
Yeah, well, no, and that's where it is. So if I know my team, I know my capabilities, I know, okay, this is a difficult problem, you have to think about it before writing all these things. It's not the amount of words or the amount of lines of code. Oh, I wrote 400 lines of code. Yeah, so I mean, 10 would have been enough to have this game changer in the business, just thinking about it. And that's how it works. So it's very difficult to measure. That's why you need this expertise that I talked about before. You need the manager there who knows what he's doing. Oh, I've done it before. I know it takes time. I know for a fact, because I did it myself when I was an analyst, that your most productive day is when you're playing ping pong. It's not when you're like they're writing code for 400 lines, because those ideas are the real game changers for the business. So, but once again, the manager has to be in there in that journey with the entire team. Yeah, I know what you're doing. I'm not going to tell you don't play ping pong in the office. Right now, I don't even see them. Where are you? I don't know. But I know that when I have my weekly call with them, it's like, whoa, okay, that was worth a week of work.
And this is, you know, I think it's a really great point, because it depends on not just what you do for a job as to whether or not it suits you to work from home, but also you as an individual and how you best function. So I think these blanket approaches to working from home aren't really realistic or potentially the best way forward for a lot of businesses. But I've already seen it, and it's a massive positive for me, is the mindset has changed for a lot of companies, and their attitude towards flexible working is so much better. And I just think for so many people anyway, just knowing that they have the option, that you know, because you may not be 2 days from home every week, it might be a day from home, it might be 3 days, it depends on the workload, doesn't it? But
absolutely.
That's a great point about data scientists and technical members of staff. And, you know, we're having lots of conversations with clients at the moment about great candidates who are based outside of the UK, and, it's interesting to see how their mindset has already changed in considering, you know, candidates that aren't able to work full time in the office in their London offices, for example. But we'll have to keep track of that and see how it changes moving forward. So
I think one of the processes of the recruitment processes should be on how the candidate can contextualize the data. So the data itself, and having all this, be a data scientist. I think there's a YouTube course, be a data scientist in 6 weeks.
I'm sure there is.
Something like that. I was like, wow, I dedicated like 12 years of my life for this. In 2 months, you're gonna get, okay, fine. So I think these kind of courses just have recipes, and data science is not a recipe. Data science, the data in itself, it won't give you anything. And getting some data and putting it through some code that you downloaded from some of these libraries, off-the-shelf libraries, it's not going to give you anything. I think the real candidates, what they need to do is to contextualize, to acknowledge the complexity of the models, and then yes. And I think that's going to be more the process now for recruiting candidates, more than, oh, can you I don't know, code the Fibonacci series? Oh yeah, and you can do it. You can memorize that actually, but contextualizing it, acknowledging the complexities, this is a different thing. And I think that's what the recruitment process, especially when you don't have them in front of you, is going to be about.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, look, thank you so much for your time today, Serge. It's been really interesting talking to you. I've learned so much already. And
likewise, thank you so much. Thanks for having
me. Pleasure. And yeah, as I say, I hopefully, you know, the network that clients and candidates alike will find some of this information useful. And if any of you've got any comments or questions for myself or further questions for Serge, then please drop them through on the comments below. But yeah, thanks again for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye now.
Brilliant.